What's up, YouTube? Demi here with another Demi Splains. This time I'm going to try to explain crafting Path of Exile just as, like, overall. I get this a lot. I get a lot of questions about this, like, Demi, can you make a tutorial on just how to craft in general? It's kind of a broad subject to talk about, so I'm going to try to break it down in the simplest way as possible. So we're going to start with methods of crafting. Now, every form of currency in Path of Exile is made for usage as a crafting material, right? Everything that you see here is not just tradable currency, it's just stuff for crafting, right? Except for these. We don't talk about these. But yeah, so you can use anything you want, starting from the lowest tiers of currencies, so like Wisdom Scrolls and Alterations, all the way up to Exalts and Mirrors, right? So the cheapest way and the most controlled way of crafting that I usually recommend to anybody trying to get started crafting on a budget is the Alteration method. That's actually pretty good as is, but you basically just Alteration spam until you get some good rolls, and then you try to regal it into another good roll, and if it fails, you just scour the item and start over. This is the cheapest way to give you like pretty controlled results over what you're looking for, since you can basically just target the exact mods that you want. That's really good too. Okay, that's not good. But yeah, you just do that until you get a 3-property item that's pretty good, and then you'll craft on a 4th item if it's like a piece of armor or something, craft on a resistance or some life or something, and then sell it as is. If you hit a really good jewel, for example, if I had hit a tier 1 suffix, for example, let me see if I can get rid of that fizz reduction now. Okay, if I had hit T1 fizz dispels, T1 fizzed while holding a shield, and then like life or something like that, I would have probably exalted it for the 4th mod, but you don't have to do that. You can sell 3-property items, no problem. The second method that's usually about the same, or sorry, is cheaper than the next method afterwards, is Scour Alking. This is when you take an alchemy orb on a magic item and you just use it, and then if it doesn't give you anything good, you scour the item and try again. And you just kind of repeat this process until you get something that's good and sellable. And it can take a while. I mean, you're more or less chaos spamming, but this is usually cheaper than chaos spamming, since an alchemy is like, I guess this league, best year league, they're kind of expensive, but most leagues it's like 3 or 4 alks for a chaos and then like 2 scours for a chaos. So you'll kind of be able to get the same result as chaos spamming, but for a little bit less, right? So that's that method. The next method is chaos spamming. This is what I tend to do a lot of because it's like, it's one of the fastest ways to get something sellable, but it's also one of the least controlled. I mean, it is a chaos orb, right? It just gives you random properties on a rare item. That's not bad, actually. I can keep that. But yeah, you just kind of chaos spam, and chaos spamming, unlike Alteration Regaling, where you only get 3 properties, and Scour Alking, you get all the properties on the item. Scour Alking and chaos spamming will give you the same thing, but you will just get a 3 to 4 mod item every single time on these jewels specifically. On a rare item, you will get 4 to 6 mods, and you just kind of get to spam until you get something that's really, really good. And I just do this because it's faster than Alteration spamming, unless I'm doing something like a weapon. If I'm weapon crafting, then I will definitely use Alterations because it's more controlled, and there's a lot more mods on weapons. But yeah, that's chaos spamming. After that is when you get into the expensive types. That's actually pretty good. That's good for low life RF. The expensive types of crafting. That's not bad. That's called meta crafting, which is what I do a lot of, and you'll see a lot on my YouTube channel, where you take a triple T1 prefix or triple T1 suffix item, such as this, for example. It's fizz damage, fizz is fire, and weapon elemental damage, and then you will you'll block a suffix, exalt it, trying to hit something useful. And if you don't hit that something useful, you lock your prefixes, scour the item back down to just the prefixes, and repeat the process, or suffixes, whichever you have. A lot of people also confuse this as a way to make money. You don't generally make money metacrafting unless you end up with a mirror tier item, in which case you'll be able to set up an item for mirror service. I don't remember how much this was listed for. Like, so if I were to metacraft, for example, I don't know, this chest, for example, it's got fizz taken as fire, life, and max life. Those are all prefixes. So if I were to metacraft the suffixes and hit 2 T1 suffixes and then craft the 3rd suffix, I would end up with something like this, which is triple T1 prefix with double T1 suffix, and then crafted 6th mod, right? This is what you would consider to be a mirror item or something along these lines. It's like mostly T1 rolls, 4 or 5 T1 rolls, and then a crafted 3rd that all mesh well together. And that will give you a mirror item. And in that case, then you set it up for mirror service, which is when you do the buy out 1 mirror. If you see something listed for a mirror on PoE Trade, it's generally not for sale for a mirror. It's up for mirror service. So if you PM somebody for it, they'll usually have it in a thread name tab, then you can just look up that thread name and you'll find their mirror items. Also on PoE Trade, there is a little purple like paperclip icon next to the name. If you click that, it links to their forum thread if the item was listed from a forum thread. That's generally how you tell if it's up for mirror service, right? And there's a lot of items that people consider to be mirror worthy or not mirror worthy. For example, this helmet's been mirrored like 6 times this league. But that's how you make profit off of metacrafting. You make an item that is so good that it's really hard to duplicate it, but it's also, you can sell the ability to buy a copy of it, right? So someone will come to me with a Mirror of Kalandra, which is the rarest form of currency in the game. On standard right now, they're like 260x or something. I think they're like 200x in bestiary. And you can use this item to make a duplicate of any rare magic or white item even that's non-corrupted. So I can use that mirror on this helmet and get a duplicate of the helmet that is more or less corrupted. You can't change the sockets, you can't change the enchant, you can't like recolor it, anything like that. It's locked as is, but that allows the person that mirrors it to get the copy of the item, and I sell them that copy for a fee. So they get this item, but I get to keep the original, and they get to use it forever. It's the GG's way of implementing literally duping systems. So it's kind of good for that. It's pretty good for allowing people to shoot for perfect crafts, like 6T1 or 5T1 items now, since Eternal Orbs are too horrendously expensive to use all the time. You tend to not do that. You just craft the 6 mod. But there's a lot of rules that are considered to be T1 mods, such as movement speed on belts, for example, is a T1 mod. All attributes on armor is a T1 mod, because you just can't get that otherwise. Reduced damage taken over time, T1 mod. There's a lot of stuff like that. What else is there to talk about with crafting? Budget-wise, if you're gonna alt Regal, I would recommend you have a couple hundred alterations and maybe like 10 to 20 Regal scours, transmutes, stuff like that. That'll probably get you a decent item, decent being the keyword. It's also like generally cheaper to just buy the items yourself for the most part. Like almost always is it cheaper to just buy an item yourself than it is to try and craft it, unless you're going for something very, very basic. I tend to just buy items most of the time for like lower end stuff, but when it comes to extremely high end crafting or extremely high end gear pieces, for me personally, because I have the currency available, I like to craft it myself. And it's not cost efficient, but it is definitely more fun for me that way. Like, I find it a lot more interesting to be able to say that I crafted all of my own gear on this character versus I just mirrored somebody else's gear. I don't think that's very exciting, I don't think that's very rewarding, and I mean, I have all this currency from all the stuff I craft all the time, because if it's not good enough for me to use, I just sell it, right? So you can just sell it if it's good enough, and if it's perfect for you, you keep it. That's literally all I do, is I just sit here and I craft items. All of these jewels I've made this league, and I've sold hundreds of exalts worth of jewels, and I sell like everything else. All of this stuff is either stuff that I've dropped or stuff that I've crafted, and I just, anything that I don't want, I just sell it, and all that currency gets funneled into the next craft, so I can keep producing more items to sell or more items to use. What other methods are there? There is another method I forgot to mention, essence crafting. Essence crafting is a incredibly powerful thing, because some of the mods on essences you can't hit with like chaos spamming or alteration or any of those mods. They're unique mods to the specific essences that you look at. Like, for example, Deafening Essence of Greed is considered to be tier 0 life on a lot of items, because it rolls higher than the maximum roll that you can normally get on an item. Sorry, I just tapped the mic. Other ones, there's a lot of mods that are really, really good, like tier 0 physical damage to attacks. When I say tier 1, tier 0, tier 2, whatever, the highest roll of an item is generally called tier 1. Anything that goes above that roll, such as an essence mod, is considered to be tier 0. And some essence mods don't even exist, so they're just called whatever you want. They're just essence crafts at that point. And there's a lot of really expensive ones like Delirium and Insanity, Hysteria, Horror mods. Those can get really, really powerful because they give you very unique things that are very, very strong. Like 30% more damage over time for your glove sockets. That's really, really powerful for Righteous Fire or Essence Drain, Blight, whatever. And these allow you to more or less do the same thing as chaos spamming. The lower end ones act like alchemy orbs. You see how it says right click this item, left click a normal item to apply it. When you get to the higher tier ones, it'll allow you to use them on a normal or rare, which means it acts like both an alchemy and a chaos orb. But what you're doing with these is you're guaranteeing one mod. For this one, for example, on jewelry, I would guarantee % increased fire damage, which is much higher than the % increased fire damage can normally go. So these are literally just targeted chaos orbs, or alchemy orbs, however you want to look at it. you always get that one mod, but the other 5 or 4 mods or 3 mods or whatever is just random. So in order to get a very, very good result with these, you're going to need a lot of essences, and you're just going to sit there spamming until you hit triple T1 suffix or triple T1 prefix, whatever you get from there, or just something good overall. And then if you hit a triple T1 suffix, triple T1 prefix, you can metacraft it into a perfect item if you want. I'm looking right now to get a bunch of the tier 0 crit multi essences for jewelry, for rings specifically, so I would get 21 to 25% crit multi on these, and I'm going to spam those on Elder steel rings, trying to make a crit melee steel ring. Or I might get opal rings, I'm not sure yet. Opal Elder rings are very, very rare, but steel rings can actually be made with the 5-for-1 recipe. But I think that'll be the quick introduction to crafting. If you guys have any more specific questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or come on stream and ask me about crafting stuff. I'm trying to make more videos targeting starting out crafting, which is kind of hard, but if you go to the crafting playlist on my channel, at the very beginning of the playlist, all the way at the bottom, that's when I started crafting Path of Exile a couple years ago, and I'm literally just alching white jewelry. So if you start at the bottom of the list and then you work your way up, you can watch my journey from alching white jewelry that I pick up in maps to metacrafting mirror items over the last few years. It's very, very fun, and it's very, very interesting in Path of Exile to learn how to craft. It takes a long time, but I mean, it's very rewarding. I mean, you can make a ton of currency, you can make a ton of your own items, you can just become known for crafting if you want to start making YouTube videos about it. That's all I did. I just started making YouTube videos, and I mean, here I am now, able to make a living off of this, so it's pretty fun. Anyways, I'll stop ranting about that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to follow me on Twitch and watch me do stuff live, feel free to do that as well. But I will see you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed. That'll be Demi out.